Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of MMA Vision Analysis. This one, I'm here to talk about the possibility of a McGregor versus Max Holloway 2, but this time for the BMF title. But before getting started, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification to get all of this that is new from this channel, your channel, the one and only MMA Vision Analysis. In a recent, now infamous Q&A that Conor McGregor had, Conor touched on a couple important points for his future. He touched on a couple of fights that he might be interested in, a couple scenarios, that is. And listening to that interview thoroughly, a lot of the things that McGregor was saying made a lot of sense. This fight here was one of those things that actually made a lot of sense. I do understand that Conor McGregor is a controversial character. You can either hate him or love him. But myself as a fan, I can only be a fan of the game and everything that's going to push the game to new heights. In this case, Conor McGregor, I believe, took the UFC to astronomical heights UFC never seen before. Made so many people fans that weren't fans prior to McGregor's arrival. He is a polarizing figure. It's either you hate him or love him, or you can just enjoy the ride. I'm not a huge fan of investing in a fighter's character so much outside of the octagon. I do understand that these guys have to lead by example. That's for certain. I really wholeheartedly believe in that. I think that there are kids watching you, and you have to lead by example, because the game that you're in, it's either humble, be humble or get humbled. So you have to lead with, lead by example. Obviously, I think that's something that doesn't have to be said. But for the case of Conor McGregor, a polarizing figure, as I said, which helps him, maximize his income by being polarizing, because I believe even people that hate McGregor will tune into a McGregor fight just to see the guy lose. Or if you love him, I believe there are more people that love him that hate him. Obviously you want to see one of your favorite fighters, if not your favorite fighter of all time, win. And it's always a spectacular show when Conor McGregor shows up to an event, even when he's not participating, let alone when he is participating. The walk to the octagon, just something special to say the least. Can we play favorites in this game? Of course, we have to play favorites because at the end of the day, it is a business, and sometimes you have to look at it from the business perspective as well, not just from a fan's perspective who wants to see the best fights happen and let's say the most competitive ones. That's not always the case. You have to throw in, let's say, fights that don't necessarily make sense in terms of ranking, but make a lot of sense in terms of viewership, like the case of any Conor McGregor fight, really, after 2017, 2018. It's just all for show. So we have to respect the entertainment factor, okay? And going back to the Q&A that Conor did not too long ago, he touched on many great points. And sometimes when you listen to the guy from a business perspective and take our own feelings out of it, a lot of the things that he say actually make sense, like the creation of the BMF belt. He mentioned that he could have had the chance to fight for that title before Nate Diaz. And obviously that could have probably been factual if Conor had chosen to. Then you talk about now Max Holloway having the belt. Obviously, Conor and Max have a shared history inside of the octagon. And that would make sense for the two to face each other. So he has a point in that regard, right? And then he touched on the welterweight move and how that move is not out of the realm of possibility. And in all honesty, some of the things that he made regarding that point make a lot of sense. Like, he faced the guy that gave the current champion, Leon Edwards, a really hard time and almost knocked him out, even though majority of the fight did not belong to Nate Diaz, that is. But he did make Leon Edwards look a bit wobbly at a certain point of the fight. It was very brief, though. So they do have shared opponents, and I would not put it out of the realm of possibility for Conor to gain weight at some point in the future, fight for that welterweight title. But here we're talking about the possible Max Holloway fight. This would be, I say this often, but the UFC always put together some of the most amazing, awesome fights ever. So the UFC is always top in the last event somehow. They're always able to do that, thanks to Dana White, that is, and everybody who's in charge of making the matchmaking, basically. But this one here, Holloway versus McGregor 2, if it was to happen for that BMF title, this would be one of the most spectacular fights to watch in recent memory, and definitely has the potential of being one of the most iconic fights to have ever taken place inside of the octagon. I do understand it's a bit early to speak about such proposition, just because the two, well, at least for McGregor, he has obviously the Michael Chandler, and he did mention, if I'm not mistaken, that if he was to lose to Chandler, he wants to fight Tony Ferguson. I don't know about the sound of that. I don't know about me personally, I don't know if I want to see Tony inside of the octagon again. Just personal opinion. No respect to Il Cucuy. This is because I respect Il Cucuy. I don't want to see him inside of the octagon again. But Conor did mention that if he was to lose to a Chandler, then obviously he has that Tony Ferguson option on the table. But say that he beats Chandler, then really we can talk about the possibility of a Max Holloway next for the BMF title. And I don't put it past Conor McGregor really to capture titles again. I do understand he is 35, not to say that that's old. All I'm saying is that Conor McGregor, we cannot rule the guy out, and for more than one reason. One, he's an entertainment factor in any fight he participates in. Two, with a character like that, you just cannot rule the guy out. That's something that we all have to take into consideration. I do understand, like I said, he's a polarizing figure. You hate him or love him. I do understand that perhaps after 2018, he's created more haters than perhaps lovers of Conor McGregor. And perhaps a lot of people have the right to dislike McGregor. But it's business. It's business. The fact that he's so polarizing, that's, like I said, that people tune in just to watch him lose. One other fight that Conor actually hinted to, obviously spoke about the upcoming fight for UFC 302's main event. That's the fight between Makhachev and Poirier, obviously. And he expressed his interest in a possible fourth Poirier fight. Made a really good point, actually. He did say that they're 1-1. The record doesn't indicate so. But obviously that third fight, we all know how that ended. And he kind of has a point. So if Poirier was to capture that title against Makhachev, and McGregor beats Chandler, UFC 303, then you have basically three options for three different titles on the line. You have BMF with Max Holloway. If Poirier was to beat Makhachev, you have the possible fourth fight with Poirier, even though Poirier expressed disinterest in such fight. But no one can predict the future, okay? And then you have the possible move up in weight to welterweight to face the current champion of the division, Leon Edwards. That's all saying that he gets past Chandler. Chandler, we cannot overlook. And I don't think Conor McGregor's overlooking Chandler. Conor McGregor seems to be very, very confident, as he always does. But everything that he's mentioning is obviously easier said than done. None of those fights are easy fight, starting with Chandler. If you made it this far, I appreciate you for sticking around. Please let me know what you think in the comments and like, subscribe for more.